Welcome to the 167th broadcast of the T-Rose Show. This is part 4. This is your host, Keith. I'm going to be covering some more of the Law of Nations today. Also, going to show you a few things that I think have just been kind of overlooked. The details of some things have been overlooked that we, really need to talk about to kind of show people where they are. Now, okay, I've got a couple of articles here. Let me go ahead and get the share screen right. Okay, this guy right here, all right, he was figured I'd do everybody a favor. Prison inmate kills 2 convicted pedophiles. Okay, so as a man who was serving a life sentence in California prison, murdered 2 convicted pedophiles while behind bars, according to recent confession. Jonathan Watson, 41, wrote in a letter received by this Bay Area news group on January 21st, he beat 2 fellow inmates over the head, killing them. Both prisoners, David and Graham, were serving life sentences for sexual assault of children under the age of 14. Watson was convicted of murder in 2009, claimed he went after the 2 men after a counselor in a state prison allegedly failed to provide a help he sought. In his letter, Watson recounted that 6 days after he arrived at the prison, he and other convicts felt taunted by one of the pedophiles who was watching PBS Kids. Now, wait a minute. This guy was convicted of murder in 2009. He's not supposed to have a conscience. But he felt taunted by one of the pedophiles who was watching PBS Kids. It didn't bother the guards. It didn't bother the lawyers. It didn't bother the judges. It bothered a murderer, an inmate, that this guy was watching PBS Kids, and they were, okay, nobody cared except for a murderer. Think about that. Matter of fact, it was the guards, the lawyers, and the judges that are protecting the pedophile. So you got to think about that. Whose side are they on, right? The kids? I don't think so. Then they'll say, well, that's the reason why he's in jail. No, he's actually still doing it in jail, according to this. Watson said the incident gave him trouble sleeping. Well, there wasn't a lawyer or a judge that was trouble sleeping. They were fine. Or a guard, or nobody. Everybody was fine with it. Having not done what every instinct told me I should have done done right, and then and there. I should have done right then and there. To tell you what the right thing was, the next day Watson says he asked to be transferred to a higher security area of the prison, admitting to a counselor he needed to move before I really mess one of these dudes up. Okay, so after being scoffed at and dismissed by the counselor, of course they're going to do that because they're lower in morality than the murderer. Think about it. Just got to sit back and think about that for a minute. He headed back to his housing pod where he encountered Molester 1. I was mulling it over when along came Molester 1, and he put his TV right on PBS Kids again. The letter from Watson reportedly reads, but this time someone else said something to the effect that, is this guy really going to watch this right in front of us? And I recall saying, I got this, and I picked up a cane and went to work on him. Okay, so molesting children, and I know this is also well known, bothers the inmates more than it bothers the guards, which means the guards are not protecting children. Nobody else cares about protecting children because they can still sleep at night like babies, but not the inmates that are, is he going to do this in front of us? Because you know what the guy's doing. He's going to go back to the shower and abuse himself, or he's going to be in his bunk, abuse himself, thinking about those kids. So he's still offending. He's still doing what he's, the whole deal. So Watson says he was on his way to turn himself into the guard, and he crossed paths with known child trafficker, and figured I'd just do everybody a favor, adding in for a penny, in for a pound. He claimed he told the guard on his way out that he'd done what he'd done, and that he wasn't believed until he looked around the corner and saw the mess I left on the dorm area. Watson noted being sentenced to life, and it has its advantages. Being a lifer, I'm in a unique position where I sometimes have access to these people, and I have so little to lose, Watson wrote. And trust me, we get it. These people are every parent's worst nightmare. Following news of Watson's actions was all he was hailed as a hero on social media. So think about it, folks. Think about it. This man is a murderer, and he was hailed as a hero over and above all the cops, all the lawyers, all the judges, the whole judicial system. A murderer was hailed as a hero. I'm going to show you the comments here in a minute. Now think about that. Now that should sink in with everybody that's got a uniform on, or a nice little suit, looking all pretty, and a little black dress. That's how low you've gone. How low you've gone. That's it. You are now below a murderer, because the people have raised him up as a hero above you. That should tell you what you're doing wrong. That's an eye opener. That's a wake up call. It's like, wow, I go out here and do this job, and I'm spit on, but a murderer is hailed as a hero. Why? Because the murderer did the right thing. Something that none of you have the gonads to do. That's it. You'll let him out, and you'll say, oh, here, we're just going to put him on a registry list so we can get more money out of him, out of everybody, to watch, to have him on a registry list, sex offender list. And folks, there's no coming back from this. Okay, once these guys have gone pedophile, they don't come back. There's no way of rehabilitating them. They're gone. There's nothing you can do. Some heroes don't wear capes. Look at that. That shouldn't count. That should count as paying back his debt to society. Holy crap. Look at that. Look at that, man. I see no issue. Let him in the yard with some more. There you go. Now look at the cops, okay? You're going after good people, man, all the time. You don't mind, raping good people on the road and throwing them and ruin their life and stuff, taking their cars and all this kind of crap over a little administrative crap. But see, y'all need to take a lesson from this murderer. He needs to do a class for you guys. You need to go to his class instead of SPLC's class, where SPLC turns you against the people, and they mess with your head, where your head's so messed up you don't know what to do by the time they get done with you. Full pardon right there. I'm not even mad. That's another one. Somebody deserves an extra pudding at lunch. That's right. Not all heroes wear a cape. And by the way, this dude is failing big time. as far as what's going on in the system. I mean, in the judicial system, oh my God, he is just missing it. He's trying to play politics and judicial, and it ain't working. That's just one. Now, here's another one. It's before we go on to the Law of Nations. Actual drag queen slams woke parents for allowing their kids to be around drag queens. Okay? Would you want a stripper or porn star to influence your child? All right, this is the dude who was there. Drag queen Kitty Demure posted a viral video in which he exposed in his amazement at why woke parents are allowing their kids to be around drag queens asking, would you want a stripper or a porn star to influence your child? Apparently don't care. Demir questioned why drag queens had attracted so much respect from the left, given that they've done little more than put on makeup, jump on the floor, and I would imagine that's wiggle around and do sexual things on stage. That's all they're doing. And it's true. They just put some makeup on and stuff and walked around and did that. Now, think about this, folks. This drag queen right here, he is lecturing you over morals. Seriously? Over morals. The morality is so low that you're being lectured by a drag queen, man. Think about that for a minute. That's how low the morals have gone. You have murderers that are killing pedophiles to protect innocent children. Everything's the exact opposite now. And you have police, lawyers, and judges attacking innocent people because they don't fight back. That's all. They just don't fight back. And you're not big and bad. They just don't fight back. That's all. Because they're good people. They don't want to do anything wrong. So they let you attack them because they respect the law. Not that they respect you. That's not even part of it. And not that you're the law. They respect the law. So they don't fight back in certain areas. Okay? He said, I have absolutely no idea why you would want to influence your child. Would you want a stripper or a porn star to influence your child? He says, Demir went on to the point on that drag queens perform in clubs for adults, and that backstage there's a lot of sex, nudity, and drugs. He says, so I don't think this is an avenue you want your child to explore. Holy crap. And you've got this man right here lecturing you on morality. Those people that bring your children over to these trainee story time crap and all that with basically convicted pedophiles. They've done a lot of those. So you have pedophiles in prison that will get executed for what they're doing by other prisoners. Well, apparently the morals are a lot higher in prisons and a lot higher in murderers than there are in people that say they're doing the right thing. Think about it, man. You got to think real hard on that. And think about what is going on in your head. This is a wake-up call. This is a wake-up, okay? Think about that. Just those two particular stories. And where you are in your life if this affects you. If you bring your children to some freaking story time crap. Just think about that. And they're telling you, why are you bringing them to the store? Why are you letting drag queens run your kids? Idiot. Why are you letting dudes do sex acts in front of your little boys and girls? What is wrong with you? Your morality has gotten that low. So think about it. There's lessons for all of us in a lot of these things. Alrighty. Got one more thing here. There we go. There's Law of Nations. I skipped a spot, okay, in the Law of Nations because it really does. I just skipped a chapter. It really doesn't cover. I mean, it's just it's really boring, dry reading. It doesn't really make a major point. So now I'm going to make some points here. All right. We are unable to avoid in the first chapter anticipating some of the subject of this. And keep in mind, folks, there are people that are giving, putting comments on, they don't follow the law of nations. They want a one world and stuff like, well, no shit, really? You think that we don't know that? What we're doing here is educating people to show the signs that you never had a federal republic. We put one together so far. There's 15 states and national governments in place. Apparently, nobody wants it. Okay, because I know people are working with the ANU to learn how to do businesses and things like that, but it doesn't really seem like anybody really wants a federal republic at all, because it's been sitting right there in front of your face for a very long time. And we're talking about we got a bunch of people, they're still going after their constitution, which, if it weren't a company, it would be an aristocratic republic. Mainly it'd be Rome, okay, like under Roman law, under Caesar. So apparently that's what you're wanting. You don't want a federal republic. So basically you took an oath to Caesar when you took an oath to the Constitution. So have fun with that. All right, we have seen already that every political society must necessarily establish a public authority to regulate their common affairs, to prescribe to each individual the conduct he ought to observe with a view to the public welfare. Okay, we don't have this. These laws or rules change every day. These rules do. So there's no social compact that says, okay, we all agree to this. What it is it's being shoved on you. That's tyranny. That people are doing, well, we're just going to do this. Well, why are you doing that? Nobody cares, okay, why you're doing this. But, they have to act like they do something to earn their pay. And to possess the means of procuring obedience, okay? This authority essentially belongs to the body of the society. This is the people that have a social compact, but it may be exercised in a variety of ways, and every society has a right to choose that mode which suits it best. Okay, and the reason why, folks, we went over to a federal type republic and started trying to do all that was, it's very hard to listen to people that don't know what they're doing. They have never read a book or anything. I mean, look at AOC. Really? The chick is unbelievably ignorant. She's the one in the bar that has the whiny voice that nobody listens to. And, man, that girl's dumb. You just walk away. You use her one night if you wanted to. Yeah. Throw her in bed, do her thing, do your thing, and okay, see ya. You would never take her serious over anything. And she's a congresswoman, really? I mean, it's just stupid. The whole thing is just stupid. I'm sorry, I just have no respect for it. It says, and to possess the means of procuring obedience. All right, now the fundamental regulation that determines the manner in which the public authority is to be executed and what forms the constitution of the state. So guess what that is? The Constitution of the state says the fundamental regulation that determines the manner in which the public authority is to be executed is what forms the Constitution of the state. Holy crap. That means you have to have a private association and agreement before you have your public, which is the Constitution. You don't have a private agreement, so how can you have a public one? Okay, now in this is seen the form in which a nation acts in quality of a body politic, how and by whom the people are to be governed, and what are the rights and duties of the governors. This Constitution is in fact nothing more than an establishment of the order in which a nation proposes to labor in common for obtaining those advantages with the view to which the political society was established. Now, have you noticed that this is going to be a little test, okay? Go into a state court or a local court and try to bring in the Constitution of the United States. You'll be held in contempt in jail if you push it. They'll give you a couple warnings and then that's it. As one judge said, there'll be a slippery rope before you have that Constitution in here. So they're not going by any constitutions, none whatsoever. They made up their own rules. because they took over the courts and they took over the constitutions. I'll give you an example. All right, let me go ahead and put that there. And we'll go over to the Reign of the Heavens Society post, and we'll show you exactly what they did, if you haven't seen this. Okay, here we go. Just a couple of things that I'll share with you. By the way, just as a side note, you can read this. This is, we did not claim the spiritual kingdom of heaven. There were some people that were claiming we were claiming the kingdom of heaven because it's written that way in the King James version, as in the kingdom of heaven. And so we were in league with Lucifer trying to take over heaven or some crap. It was stupid. It says the reign of the heavens is a country on earth created by Jesus within Naphtali and Zebulun. It says we're not crazy to claim heaven itself and step on the Most High's domain, and we recognize the earth as his footstool. We also know that the term kingdom of heaven is in the King James version, which makes it appear as if we are claiming heaven, but we are not. People have a hard time understanding that Jesus left us all something, the ability to have a status outside of any monarchy on earth, which is why the monarchs hid the country from everyone for over 2,000 years. The monarchs could no longer make us stateless, and we no longer had to be under Caesar as subject or citizens of the reign of the heavens. Once a citizen of the reign of the heavens, you already have a Lord and Savior. Plus, it's under the new covenant. There's a lot there. It's really cool. And no earthly king can lawfully claim you. We are talking about your flesh and blood, body, spirit, and soul. The government of the United States of America deals with persons. So we get that out of the way with the government of the United States of America. There are no persons within the reign of the heavens. This is our interpretation of the reign of the heavens because it was when it was established, the process of establishment followed the same process as establishing a country as written in the law of nations. If anyone sees fault with this interpretation with a quote from the New Covenant, please come forward so that we may alter or fix any problems. Because we don't want to, we don't want to, it's not our intent to change the word of God. I don't want to change his intent for anything or the word or anything. I don't want to do that. I don't think anybody else does either. But that's what we're seeing. So to become a citizen of the reign of the heavens, you can go there. It says this is about the followers of the way, the truth, and life, not any religion on earth. Okay, and this is in Northeast, Zebulun, Naphtali. And by the way, Netanyahu knows about the reign of the heavens here. He's been notified. And if you want, you can read this here or watch this video. If you want it bigger, just go ahead and click this right here on the right. Go to full screen. You can watch the whole thing. It's only about 5 minutes long. Now, the deep state actually was exposed right here in a 2-minute 58-second video where the guy basically says that the lawyers are the deep state. The signatories of the government of the United States of America are not anti-law or anti-government and believe that is what is going to be said or claimed by the members of the American Bar Association and the International Bar Association under the direction of the City of London. Remember, the City of London is not the Queen, all right? It's just a little 1 mile square. It's about 2,000 years old. The claim that the lawyers are the deep state comes from the video below that was published this morning, February 18th, 2020. On YouTube, these are the deep state being exposed, talking about attorneys. And you can watch that video. It's right on reignoftheheavens.com. So here's just an overview. The attorneys took over the grand juries in 1946. That's traitorous, by the way. You can't have a private membership association like a club take over grand juries. It's illegal as hell, by the way. Okay, they created the Bar Treaty of 1948. There's links to all this if you want to go a little bit by little bit. The sources with this video here is YouTube, minute mark 420. Okay, if you'll want to watch it on YouTube. American Bar Association completely ignores the rights and duties of man. Believe it or not, they've got an agreement that they're supposed to uphold. They ignore the crap out of this. The ABA has allowed over 60 million children to be slaughtered under their watch and called it a right. Okay. ABA members created the Declaration of Interdependence and trafficked millions of persons under that declaration. They did. Amended state constitutions from judicial departments to judiciaries and made it a requirement to be a member of their private membership association to be able to qualify for a position in the judiciary. I kid you not. I've got the pages or the I'm sorry, the print screens of what I'm about to show you. So watch closely. Further, wrote the Florida bar into the Constitution itself without any popular vote whatsoever, and have been terrorizing the inhabitants of the state of Florida ever since. This went on in almost every state. This same thing has happened in many states around the same time. Okay, so Florida Constitution before 1968, and the Florida bar did not exist in the pre-1968 Constitution. Here's the link to it. What was it called? Judicial Department. That's what they did. It was Article 6. This was pre-1968. Now, Florida, after 1968, judiciary. From judicial department to judiciary, and no notes were made towards the change of the term. None whatsoever. So they completely wiped out the whole judicial department of a state and put in their own private membership association crap in it. I kid you not. They even put in their own Florida bar crap in the whole Constitution, which didn't exist before 1968. Folks, there was no popular vote on this. They just did it. And they said, oh, it was amended in 1968. They never made notes and said, oh, by the way, we're going to go ahead and eradicate your judicial department so all the people, since we just took control of all your grand juries. So we're going to eradicate the judicial department. We're going to put in our own judiciary. Okay, thumbs up, right? Sounds like a great idea. Yeah, let's just go ahead and give all the people's judicial authority over to a private association. They're non-elected, by the way. Because in there, you have to be a part of their judiciary. You have to be a part of the Florida bar in order to be a judge, a lawyer, or a prosecutor, or anything like that. That is the same as non-elected, because only a special group of people can be elected that way. Okay, so now it wouldn't be so bad if they didn't subject everybody to it. Okay, if they wanted to keep it for themselves and they just subjected their own members, wonderful. Who cares? But they're subjecting non-people. In other words, non-members. That's where it goes illegal. That's where it's nefarious. Okay, I've got it right here. You've been looking at it. Here's the judicial department. Now go to that. You can go to the the link of the original, and you can do a word find query. Try to find Florida bar. It's not there. It doesn't exist. Right after, it's all up in it. Okay, Florida bar is everywhere. That's judiciary. They just completely did this, guys. They made no notes from here to here. Nobody said a word about, oh, by the way, we're going to take away your judicial department, set up our own crap. That means what? Oh, all the courts and all the lands that have done this are illegal, or they're foreign courts, foreign to state constitutions, and their so-called Constitution of the United States is foreign to all of it. They're just foreigners. They came in and created their own thing. And guess where they're going next? They're going directly to Sharia law. Because all these, they're not violating the Constitution. Because if they're not violating the Constitution, they have control of the judiciary. So they can define it any way they want. And you'll notice that, what are they doing? They're protecting the Muslims. They're protecting Islam. The lawyers are. Okay, just like the Pope does. So it must mean that this judiciary, just by process of elimination, must be Catholic. Think about it. Now, if that's not bad enough, look at what they did to Center Hill, and the lawyer created in the lawyer-created state of Florida. I'm going to go ahead and just do that. Then it gets worse. The inhabitants became become the attorney's piggy bank to fleece when they need to go on vacation. That's exactly right. That's what happens. So, the government of the United States of America receives report after report of violations of even the simplest laws every day committed by attorneys in the courts and terrorize the inhabitants of all 50 states every single day. With access to SWAT teams equipped with military weapons, militarized sheriff's offices, which used to be called the Office of the Sheriff, and privately owned detention centers owned by judges through various entities. There's even now reports coming that the judges are just moving all of the money to their private companies. All the money they bring in, they're just stealing it out and outright, just taking it. We're getting reports on that. We'll have more proof soon. The National Assembly for the Government of the United States has declared the International Bar Association, the American Bar Association, international and domestic terrorists working for world communism. And we did some other stuff there. Now, this is the city of Center Hill. This is what these guys did. This was hilarious. This is in the same state, by the way. The city council, this is what they did in 1985. The city council shall elect its own officers and shall make its own rules of conduct and provide methods for the enforcement of the same and fix penalties for the violation of the same. And that votes cast shall be by ayes and nays, unless secret ballot or roll call shall be demanded by a majority vote. This was hilarious. This is the city council shall elect its own officers. What happened to the other 1,100 people in that city? That's called slavery. The woman that did all that, she's the mayor because she voted herself in as mayor and a clerk, I think, or something. she's she's doing it right there in front of 1,100 people, and nobody's arrested her. She just runs the whole town the way she wants to. It's a dictatorship, and all the people in there are all slaves because they have no vote in anything. They don't vote for their city council or anything. Why isn't the woman freaking in jail? I don't know. That's still going on, by the way. So that's just a real quick synopsis of what's happening here. Okay, here we go. The perfection of a state and its aptitude to attain the ends of society must then depend on its constitution. Consequently, the most important concern of a nation that forms a political society and its first and most essential duty towards itself is to choose the best constitution possible and the most suitable to its circumstances. Okay, when it makes this choice, it lays the foundation of its own preservation, safety, perfection, and happiness. It cannot take too much care in placing these on a solid basis. Okay, so if you're on Manhattan Island, Constitution is not too bad. The Bill of Rights and all that crap was only for the people on Manhattan Island, the bankers. You got to realize this, folks. The laws or regulations established by public authority to be observed in a society says all these ought to relate to the welfare of the state and of the citizens. The laws made directly with a view to the public welfare are political laws. And in this class, those that concern the body itself and being of the society and form the government in the manner in which the public authority is to be exerted, those, in a word, which together form a constitution of a state are the fundamental laws. Okay, now in order to be, if a society is done correctly, okay, you'd have to take an oath or affirmation. Now, there was one person I had to block on YouTube because they just were trying to set us up. It was one of those kind of people. They said, well, what is, you're not supposed to take an oath. Well, we don't swear an oath. And that's why you have the word affirmation. So I said, this is why you can affirm. Affirm is not as a declaration. It's not swearing an oath. So you're not in violation of the new covenant, nor are you in violation of the New Testament in any way, shape, or form by doing this. Now, we do have people that do, they swear. That's their beliefs. Okay, but we have the option either way. But I affirmed. I didn't like to swear, so I affirmed, and everything I did. It was my declaration. If you go look it up, it covers everything, and so we never swore an oath. Once we came back with all these good answers, well, you're just like everybody else. It's just somebody's trying to set you up for a fall. That's all they're doing, because they don't want to take responsibility for their own crap. All right. Now, the laws or regulations established by okay. Now, the laws made directly with the view of the public welfare are political laws. Just think about that. Okay. The laws made directly with a view to the public welfare are political laws. And in this class, those that govern, that's a different class of laws. So just keep that in mind. Those that concern the body itself of being a society, the form of government, the manner in which the public authority is to be exerted, those, in a word, which together form a constitution of a state, are the fundamental laws. It's basic stuff. We have that under the Law of Nations, and we have that under the Articles of Confederation that have been amended. Every nation that would not be wanting of it to itself ought to apply its utmost care in establishing these laws, and principally its fundamental laws. In establishing them, I say with wisdom, in a manner suitable to the genius of the people, and to all circumstances in which they may be placed. They ought to determine them and make them known with the plainness and precision, to the end that they may possess stability, that they may be not be eluded, and that they may create, if possible, no dissension. That on one hand, he or they to whom the exercise of the sovereign power is committed, and the citizens, on the other hand, may equally know their duty and their rights. Now, how many people really know what they're supposed to be doing? Okay, so you can't say, oh, everybody knows that you have to have a driver's license, registration, insurance. Okay, that's not a law. Now, why isn't that a law? Because there's nothing in the constitutions anywhere that says that the state has the right to regulate private property. If it's not in the Constitution, then it becomes a political law under communism, because what they're saying is that the state is regulating private property and licensing their people's private property to them when it was never granted to the state in the first place by anyone. It just went from Mr. Smith to Mr. Smith to Mr. Johnson to Mr. Whatever. It didn't say, oh, it was sent to the state of Florida or the state of California. They own it now, and then they're going to license it to you. It's the same with cars. Okay, and we talked about that, where you have a communist system. So a driver's license, registration, insurance is not a public law. That is a political law done or written up by the same people that confiscated and wiped out your whole judicial department and took your grand juries away so nobody could charge them. That's called a traitor. So those laws that are being established, like in traffic and everything, those are traitor laws. This is what traitors do to their own country. And the reason why they do it is because it fills their own pockets. Now, it is not necessary to consider in detail what that constitution, those laws ought to be. This discussion belongs to public law and politics. Besides, the laws and constitutions of different states must necessarily vary according to the disposition of the people and other circumstances. In the law of nations, we must adhere to general laws. We have considered the duty of a nation towards itself, principally to determine the conduct that it ought to observe in the great society which nature has established among all nations. These duties give it rights that serve as a rule to establish what it may require from other nations, and reciprocally what others may require from it. The Constitution and laws of a state are the basis of a public tranquility, the firmest support of political authority, and the security and liberty for its citizens. Okay, so this is where it comes in, where you have different parties. You have political parties that are unwilling to change their immigration policy or immigration laws. It should be laws, but they're calling it policies because it's basically operating as a corporation. Corporation trying to say its business is government. It's so messed up here. So, um, it's highly illegal to take in immigrants just for votes. Highly illegal to do that. That's a traitorous act, and it's an exile act, which means you can exile that party for doing that. Just for doing that, you can't take in people. Okay? But this Constitution is in vain. Phantom and the best laws are useless. Okay, so the Constitution and laws of a state are the basis of the public tranquility, the firmest support of political authority, and the security for the liberty of the citizens. But this Constitution is in vain. Phantom and the best laws are useless if they are not religiously observed. So you can't just change laws all the time the way they're doing it here. One day it's this and one day it's that. It's because you don't have a social compact. If you don't have a social compact, you have no foundation for anything. So you're built on a house of sand. It's a house of cards, man. It says the nation ought then to watch very attentively in order to render them equally respected by those who govern and by people destined to obey, and attack the Constitution of the state and to violate its laws is a capital crime against society. Okay, so to attack the Constitution of the state and to violate its laws is a capital crime against society. Now you understand what a capital crime is. And when you have what do you call them? Okay, attack the Constitution of the state and to violate its laws and the capital crime against society. Okay, now what you're trying to do is, okay, I've been let's put it this way, I've been politically uh, attacked for a very long time, since the 90s. Okay, and just because I didn't want to have a driver's license and registration and all this kind of crap, I thought, well, that's my private property. I should be able to own it. Now they didn't want to change anything. They say, well, if you want me to have insurance, I have no issues with that. That's fine. All that, but something didn't feel right because the state was actually regulating my private property. I didn't like that, and I've been vindicated over that through the National Registry Act of 1982, which now, if the Secretary of State would have allowed me to register my vehicle, okay, with the Secretary of State for two bucks, I think it was $2-3, it used to be, and is listed as private property, I'd have no problem with that whatsoever. If you want me to do that, just so there's a responsible party doctrine, just to uphold that. If I hit somebody and stuff, I can't take off. My, the car is identified and everything as who owns it and all that. I would have no issues with that at all. There was just something about that driver's license that bugged the crap out of me. It's like, why are you guys regulating my private property? This is my freaking truck. This is my car. Why are you guys doing this? It didn't make any sense. Well, come to find out, since it now you understand why they don't allow a constitution in the courts, is because to enforce anything that is an attack on that constitution, just like they did in 1968 when they attacked that the constitutions, and called it from a judicial department to a judiciary. That was an attack on the Constitution. That was a capital crime. Now you understand why they took the people away from the grand juries way before that, because they knew they were going to be committing capital crimes. The lawyers were going to do that. So the Constitution of the state and to violate its laws is a capital crime against society. So to regulate private property, for a state to do that, that is a capital crime, because the people did not agree. Well, let's put it this way: it was sold as a republic to people in order to accept it. So you can't do a bait and switch. Oh, this is a republic, and we're going to switch this to communism, but we're going to operate as a communist state. That's an attack against that republic in that constitution, because there's nothing in the state, there's nothing in the constitutions that say we can regulate private property. So just that alone, that's why you guys have got to get social compacts going, man. You can't just sit there on your butt and do nothing. And if those guilty of it are invested with authority, they add to this crime abuse of the power in which they are entrusted. So they add to it. That's when it becomes a capital crime and abuse of power. The nation ought constantly to repress them with its utmost vigor and vigilance, as the importance of the case requires. It is very uncommon to see the laws and constitution of a state openly and boldly opposed. It is against silent and gradual attacks to that nation ought to be particularly on its guard. Sudden revolutions strike the imaginations of men. They are detailed in history. Their secret spring are developed. Okay? But we overlook the changes that insensibly happen by a long train of steps that are but slightly marked. You see how they did this? They know exactly what goes on. You see, first in 1970s, and I'm just using this as an example. There are many, many examples. Okay, I just used the driver's license because everybody has that in their hands. First, it was, oh, you got to have insurance, or it's recommended that you have insurance. It's recommended that you have a driver's license and all that. They didn't really you didn't go to jail back in the 70s. If you didn't have insurance, you didn't go to jail for that. Then they slowly made it to where, oh, it's required, otherwise you have to pay a fine. Then it was a fine, and now you're arrested. Okay, or you could go to jail for it if you're doing that. Then that's how that slowness comes in. Then it's now, man, if you don't have driver's license, registration, insurance, your butt's in jail. They take your car. It's gonna cost you $1,000, whatever. You know, they do whatever because they were communist in the beginning. They just slowly groomed you into communism. That's how they did that. Just like they were slowly grooming you into the lowest moral compass on the planet, and then they slowly groomed you that a murderer has more integrity than anybody else. The murderer is doing God's will to protect the children. That's pretty sad. Pretty sad. Sudden revolutions strike the imaginations of men. People start going, oh, that's it. Let's get the knives out. Let's go. They are detailed in history. Their secret springs are developed, but we overlook the changes that insensibly happen by a long train of steps that are but slightly marked. It would be rendering nations an important service to shew from history how many states have thus entirely changed their nature and lost their original constitution. Uh-oh. This would awaken the attention of mankind, impressed thenceforward with the excellent maxim, no less essential in politics or in morals. Now, if they would no longer shut their eyes against innovations, which, though inconsiderable in themselves, may serve as steps to mount to higher and more pernicious enterprises. Okay, so this right here on this page, that is your authority. Page 93 is chapter 3, 30th section. This is the authority by which the people can revolution at any time right now in this country here. Anytime. And say, oh, well, you attacked the authorities and all this other kind of crap. Say, nope, you attacked them. In other words, the people have the right to arrest everyone in office right now. Under this section right here, for capital crimes against society. If you had a social compact. But since you don't have a social compact, you were there as inhabitants, foreign to your own states. And you can do nothing. You want your damn state back? Get your freaking social compact. Otherwise, shut the hell up. Go on to socialism and communism, kill millions more people, and have a good day. That's how it works. It's either freaking or. Now I'm going to show you this. You can do a resident declaration here and form your damn state any way you want. And I'm going to show you how to do that because I'm getting real tired of saying the same thing over and over again because people just ain't getting it. Okay, so you go here. You can go over to you can go here. This is the original Union Resident Declaration. You can do a resident declaration. Shows you how to do it. And here is a bilateral social compact. You sign this as a resident. It goes through the whole thing. Social compact here. This is by the law of nations. And the rest of you can, anytime you want to mess with a lawyer, you can arrest him for a capital crime right there, just as an inhabitant, because he's committed a capital crime against the state constitution. Then he's got to come back and admit to everybody that you were never a party to it, and then try to explain how they're enforcing that on people that weren't never a party to it. Try to explain that to everybody there, Mr. Lawyer. Don't worry, guys. We're closing in on you. All right. Here's the status thing here. You can just do a declared resident. That's it. You can do that, and then turn your name into a corporation or a trust or whatever you want to do. It can be done that way within the United States of America. And this is the original Union State Resident Declaration. And believe me, we get these every day. So we just got 2 today. So it's not like I'm that we're advertising because we're getting low. We're not. We get plenty of them all the time. So we're just showing you, in case you wanted to know. That's all I'm doing is just showing you. In case you want to know how to get this done, this is how you do it. You got to do resident declaration within the United States of America, which is the states of the Union, outside of the United States. And then you go over and you can publish your name, your person, get rid of that situation, work as a PMA or a trust or however you want to operate. Then you can go over and do the bilateral social compact, go over to the union, and there you go. You have the authority now to form your state. And it's not the lowercase s state, like people say. It's ridiculous. So now you understand, folks. Now you get what happened when I put out that post with the help of the committee and everybody else. We put that out there. We just showed everybody where it went from judicial department to judiciary. We just showed that the state of Florida, all the lawyers in the Florida bar, that means all the judges and every one of them, are guilty of capital crimes. There's your capital crimes. But however, every time a grand jury is formed there, they arrest all the grand jurors. Why? Because they don't want to get nailed for the capital crimes they committed. That's why. Right in the law of nations, which is the law of land. Law of the land, folks. And that's how it operates. It was never the Constitution of the United States. That was a completely different story. But the law of nations, that's where it says, and that's where inhabitants, because you're an alien to those states, because the lawyers stole them, committing capital crimes doing that at the same time, you can only do it through an alien tort claim. You're in violation of law of nations. Section 30, Chapter 3. That's the section they're in violation of. So have fun. Thanks for listening to the 167th broadcast of the T-Row Show, Part 4. Hope you learned something. And if you were offended, don't care. But hope you enjoyed it. And I'll see you, if not earlier, I will see you guys next week.